Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my man Myron.
And here we are again today, folks, coming to you from the laboratories of the world's greatest theoretical wrestling podcast to bring you another wonderful show recorded live. And how are you doing today, Nick McDaniel?
Good, man. It's a little warm under the bright lights, the floodlights, spotlights, whatever you call it.
I'm going to burn my head and have to get a tan.
That's why I had to go get the hat, man. I had to go put the hat on just to make sure I didn't get the burn on.
Is this like one of those Bryce's tanning beds? Is this like a tanning bed for old bald men?
That's what the thought was. Yes. That was the thought for sure.
I need some cocoa butter.
Yeah, man. Lots of it. Hey, by the way, Bryce, looking good. Shape, tan in bed. We talked about that over on the
I need some lovely women to rub cocoa butter all over my bald head.
How many you need?
I'll just do it myself. It'll be Rosie Palm and her 4 fingers.
Sorry, 5 fingers.
5 fingers. It's a long reference from when I was a child.
Yeah,
in Alabama.
But hey, man, look, before we get started, we want to surprise, look, remember this week, there's not one of the new. So somebody asked me just kind of before we get started, we went with Tapped In. For the new,
nice.
For the Georgia wrestling. So somebody asked me well, why I said, okay, well, it's a little bit different because that format, we want to be clear, by the way, we called it Tapped In. If you noticed in the title, it's Tapped In, Georgia Indie Wrestling or Georgia Wrestling, right? Yes. Because that's also going to be the format we're going to use. It's going to be Tapped In NFL, Tapped In move,
nice.
So basically we can change the subject matter. So that'll be kind of whatever we're discussing. It'll be, it goes and reflects tapped into to those, whatever that topic is. And somebody asked me okay, well, is that going to be regular on the YouTube or is it going to be and I'm like, what was my answer was simple, Myron. Well, if you signed up on YouTube, youtube.com @TappedOutPod's the handle, or patreon.com /TappedOutPod, whenever we choose to do those, they will be there. So again, if you're on YouTube, don't just like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. Because anytime we do any of the new Tapped In specials, they will go to those.
Yes.
Not everything's going to go onto the audio feed, so that's why it's important. If you're even just a podcast listener, subscribe up over on YouTube or Patreon, one of those type things, and you'll get as well. Because people a lot of times are confused, by the way. There is a paywall to get things early and things like that on Patreon. But we do release some of that stuff. It's free. It goes out to everybody on there. So the shows do get there for free. So if you want to just use a Patreon.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if you're a Patreon member, today we're recording on Wednesday. The show will drop on there. And then sometime tomorrow, 12 o'clock, it will release out to the public on Patreon as well. So you don't have to be behind the paywall. You get extra things, like we released some stuff this week about social media and some stuff that's behind the paywall on Patreon. So just saying, it's why I always suggest Patreon's a good place to be for all those purposes. So anyway.
Well, how often do you plan on releasing the wrestling show?
So what we're doing right now, it's a bi-weekly format.
Okay, so that means it's attracted to both weeks.
Yes. It's every 2 weeks, theoretically, that we should be releasing one. However, there have been talks about the weeks that we don't actually do the show, doing specials with talents, promoters, things like that in between, not your typical wrestling interview. I don't want to go that route. We want to do something special, and that's kind of why we went with the Tapped In format. So it might be Tapped In NFL with Sal Renaro or something like that. So you get some talents brought in between to go, but it helps promote them, but we get to talk about things they enjoy and they like. So that's kind of the thought process that we're going to go for.
Yes. I have all kind of ideas now too. Ooh.
Or it could be something as simple as just promotional stuff. They want to promote a little bit. But time will tell. We'll see. But again, all of that stuff will not necessarily be on the audio feed. It'll probably, all of it will be on YouTube, obviously Patreon and all that kind of stuff as well. So
okay, so folks, as we're recording on Wednesday, we will be late once again on some big headlines. So by the time you hear this on Thursday, we will not know where what's going on in the Camille reveal tonight. The Camille reveal.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big deal. 7:00 tonight on her YouTube channel.
Yep.
Any predictions, Nick?
No idea.
Okay.
Even if I knew, I wouldn't say anything because apparently I have a bad habit about keeping secrets for friends.
You keep a lot of good secrets, Nick.
So
you have a vault. Nick has a very large vault where things are kept, and he only has the key to it, and he has probably thrown the key away.
Yeah, with that, so that broke last week. There was a whole like, oh, you knew, or did you know? And yes, I knew. Did you not know? Blah blah blah. I did know, and I'm not going to tell everybody because it's not.
He doesn't even tell me half the time.
Sometimes that is true. Sometimes I'm told, it's like, but whatever.
So I'm his loyal assistant. And then again, also tonight we have a big AEW show that we're both looking forward to with Sting.
Whole lots of stuff going on tonight. I can't wait to see the follow up, and we're going to discuss that teaser. We're going to discuss some of that later in this this episode. But look, let's dive into the big story of the week. For look, it was last Friday on SmackDown.
Oh,
Rock, returns to SmackDown again. But this time he's coming as a member of the Bloodline? ?
Were you disappointed with the ratings? 2.5 million. I thought it would be doing much better than that.
I think, remember I said like 2.7, 2.8. It was still down a little bit from what I thought, but
no. I thought it'd be 2.9. I thought it was just going to blow it out of the water. They did have to reschedule Rampage due to one of the games. It ran right prior to the to SmackDown and got like 250 or something ridiculous like that. I thought it was a great episode. I missed it. I was out about doing one of my many tasks. I'm such a valued contributor to many projects and missed SmackDown. And you were sending me pictures. And I was like, I want to be home watching that. I want to be home watching that. And so I didn't get to see it till later on.
Yeah.
And it was a popper. Man, oh my God, Nick. Tell me about the promo since you saw it live.
Look, I thought it was really interesting to have Roman come out first. Look, rumors, innuendo, whatever, everything out there that was like, hey, it was supposed to be a little bit longer, but it wasn't. Show ran long, who knows. Roman gets to cut his promo piece basically and says it's the first show The Rock is officially a member of the Bloodline. Let's skip to the good shit, right? Rock comes out, Hollywood Rock, he's just literally just total asshole Rock. Cutting, heat on, getting heat from the crowd, calling people fat, I'll come out, all these things.
Slap the herpes off your mouth. Oh,
just crazy stuff.
Much like the old Rock.
Correct.
Sounded really like the old Rock for a minute. Shiny vest and everything.
Let me ask you this though: some people claimed it felt a little forced because they've had to pivot. He was going to be baby, and now he's it felt a little forced. And look, here's my thing. Even though it might have felt a little forced, it was still better than what you're going to get out of most.
Shit.
People are invested.
I was so happy to hear it. Why do we always look for the bad and pick everything apart in wrestling instead of just being happy with what we see? How happy would we complain about somebody's promo all the time, and then 6 months ago we'd have been dying for a Rock promo.
Oh, there's another promo. We're gonna criticize it later too.
Yeah, we get a Rock promo and we're like, well, I felt that was forced, and then we get this Dynamite promo and we're like, oh, Jesus, folks, it was a great promo. It's The Rock, for Christ's sakes. Enjoy it.
It was step one. They were continuing to kind of push, Rock. He's with the Bloodline. Is he not? We'll discuss that more in a second. It's start. Look, they've got a bunch of TVs and PLEs that they're going to be able to continue to evolve the story, and I think that's the important thing that we've got to watch. Look, we're going to get into
corporate Rock.
But is he? But we'll see. Maybe. Because I made the argument that okay. Let's just go ahead. We're gonna go straight into the theories. We're not gonna.
You had more conspiracy theories than the JFK assassination.
Because I've got two layers. Somebody says one.
Like an onion.
Corporate Rock. that's why he's going with Roman. I'm like, would Corporate Rock really side with Roman? I know he's a mover. I know he sells a lot of merch or whatever. Nobody sold more merch than Cody, last year. For the year. Not like there were pockets or LA Knight and CM Punk, but this is the whole of the year. So wouldn't Corporate Rock want Cody to be champion because he gets a guy who's there more often, who's selling more merch, you see where I'm going with that? So that's my only knock on the Corporate Rock thing. The argument could be made, but the real conspiracy theory that everybody's going bananas with is when they ended the two things. First one was during Rock's promo, he's calling everybody the Cody crybabies. He's telling Cody, blah blah blah. But when he makes the comment specifically, he's going to make sure that you walk out of WrestleMania not the champion, that he moved his hand and he was pointing at Roman Reigns. And he followed that up with, Cody, your story is coming to an end, and ours, and he's kind of doing the back and forth between him and Roman, is just beginning. So the conspiracy theorists say he was pointing at Roman and saying, he's going to do everything in his power to make sure he doesn't walk out of WrestleMania as the champion. Because Cody's story will end, he will be the champion, and then The Rock and the Roman story will begin after that. That's the conspiracy theories. The final part of it was when they all do the little bloodline, the finger point, everybody's got the one finger except for Rock. He's doing an L. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Did he have a different hand up? I mean,
when he goes up, he had the L like this. If you're watching on video, it's great audio podcasting. Here's my thing. I didn't read anything than that in the least.
No.
Now the point.
I think we're sitting around picking nits. I mean, I can play the X-Files music in the back of this track while we're doing this.
Yeah.
How it goes. But I'm a poor Fox Mulder. I mean, I've got my I Want to Believe poster in the back. I would switch over to it, but I don't want to ruin this great camera angle. We're picking nits, folks. I can get some of the stuff, but how he held his hand and things like that.
Here, Myron, because we know Nick loves a good conspiracy theory.
Yes.
I buy the pointing at Roman and saying that you're going to walk out, Cody's story ends, and ours is just beginning. I'm all in on that one. Because remember, my theory from the get-go was it's Cody and Rocker in on it from day one, blah, blah, blah. The L thing, I don't even know what that means. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. If you got it, let me know what the hell that was even supposed to mean. Like, he did an L, not the finger point. So, okay, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Why does that matter? I don't understand it. But the like pointing at him and telling him he's going to make sure. This weekend we've got Chamber, which we're going to discuss here in a second.
I'm excited about that.
Lots of pieces can happen. Time will tell, and we're going to get into some of those, what we think can happen. I still just say at Mania, I think somehow, some way, Rock is the reason that Cody is able. I'm not saying he's going to cheat to help Cody win, but I think he prevents the bloodline from, being involved, and therefore Cody wins. He's not going to help Cody, but he's going to help him in the sense of the word. He's going to prevent the bloodline from interfering.
So many things.
Yes.
Between now and Mania. Seth Rollins. I want a steel cage. Okay? I want a cowbell. I want all that stuff. A bull rope match. I just, how could you keep them from interfering unless Rock takes control of the family on night one? Or that's next year. Are we going to build all year long to a match to take control of the family?
I think here's the thing. Roman can be called head of the table. But if we go back to that picture of the family tree.
Yes.
Right under Rock's name, it says High Chief. High Chief is it. Like, there ain't nobody higher than High Chief. So
Peter.
he's above the head of the table by that family tree.
Well,
He's the head of the table of that family, maybe. But Rock is the high chief, so therefore I think that overrides. So, but look, we've got the steps along the way. We're not going to jump over because we got to get through Elimination Chamber first.
well, I was mapping out the potential after Elimination Chamber for matches. There's too many variables.
Oh yeah,
There's way too many variables. I love Elimination Chamber. Are you going to set you wake up at the crack of dawn anyway? Are you just going to set your clock and watch it live?
No, I'll still be because that's that's Saturday. I might be going to South Carolina that morning, so I don't know.
Well, I thought that was Sunday morning.
No, that's Saturday. It is Saturday morning at 5 a.m.
Oh, hold on, I'm confused. I thought they were holding it Saturday night here, so it would be on. What?
You're going to wake up at 5 a.m. Saturday morning to watch it.
Okay. I haven't woke up at 5 a.m. in quite some time. I have done it before in my life. There's a reason I was the world's worst deer hunter. Okay. So
if you're not watching on YouTube, you're not noticing I'm holding up on my phone Saturday, February 24th, 2024, 4:30 a.m. I'm sure is kickoff.
I thought that was one of those things where technically it was Sunday morning.
No.
God almighty damn.
So
okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm going to South Carolina that morning, so I may have to.
So I'm going to wake up at my normal Saturday time at close to noon and get my coffee and something that would look like a breakfast, maybe go to Waffle House. And by the time I get back to watch it, all you internet spoiling bastards are going to spoil it.
Stay off your phone.
I'm just going to have to look at Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I'm going to, okay. So I'm going to sit down to watch it. Which Elimination Chamber match do you think would be better, women or men?
I think the men probably will because they're going to do crazier stuff. I think the Chamber, I'm just going to go with men's for now.
Okay. Who goes up to the top of a cage?
Of
one of the capsules.
Logan. If it's a guy, it's Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one in there that does that crazy stuff. And as far as the women go, I don't know. I don't know if anybody.
Becky. Or Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton got the amazing promotion behind her right now. To pop in from NXT and go straight to Chamber. They believe in her. Now, I don't know if people caught this. When Becky went down to NXT, her and Tiffany Stratton had an amazing match. Okay? Top of the line stuff. Tiffany Stratton's got the promotion behind her. They may have to tweak her gimmick a little bit, but she is on fire. Both Elimination Chamber matches look like they're going to be terrific.
Yeah.
And they're going to set a WrestleMania match.
Right. They both have ramifications. That's the issue, right? Both of them have ramifications. Easy for me to say.
Yes.
So let's start with the direct ramifications is Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax.
Nia Jax got a big spotlight. It's her first pay-per-view main event. I love that woman. I wish she would get her gear recut. I think her gear doesn't always flatter her.
Look, friend of the show, Denovius, would completely disagree, and I'm wholeheartedly with him. I completely dig her gear.
Gear?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I paused.
You're a gear man.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a gear man. I think they could do better with that. But I like Nia Jax a lot. There is a local Nia Jax fan club of which I am a member. I'm not the president like that guy with a hair club for men. But Ripley is a hometown girl. there is no way Nia Jax is winning this, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Nia
Look.
Jax is getting a major chance here.
Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with her being the hometown. I just think they've already in their brain. They've already got part 2 of this later in the show already mapped out to the point that I'm like, Rhea Ripley is your champion going into Mania.
She has to be, because that's going to sell so much more merch. You don't have to worry about selling tickets for Mania, but that's going to sell so many more eyes for Rhea to have the championship at Mania. Better choice. How about the most annoying talk show on earth? The Grayson Waller effect, which is another hometown.
Do we want to jump that far? Do we want to jump ahead that far? I'm asking because there's a. All right, let's do it.
I was just going to get that out of the way.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think it's a bigger deal than most people are going on.
Oh, it's not just a throwaway?
I don't think it's a throwaway. I think there's some type of an attack
Ooh.
of the bloodline. Like I don't think Roman's. They teased out there was a social media post about like him complaining like he doesn't have to go to Chamber, and it's kind of like, no, he doesn't have to go. And I'm like, okay, that just screams like he's going to show up. Like, do him and Rock attack? Perth wants Rock, right? Like I think every intention was they were under the impression they were going to have Rock at that show. So if Rock and Roman are there, do they attack Seth and Cody in the Grayson Waller effect? So that way, at least the crowd's happy they got an appearance of The Rock by The Rock at that show.
A Shield appearance type thing, where Rollins gets to show off a little bit of that. Do we get some yeets? Do we get some of the USO show off thing? If that's going to be the match at Mania, we're going to throw some of that in there. I don't know. If you think there's going to be an assault, it could be huge. It could be the biggest thing on this card. If you think that's what's going to happen,
very well could be the biggest thing on. That's why I was kind of paused when you're like,
I thought it was just going to be that idiot Waller doing. Oh
no, okay, I think there's more to that. I think that's probably like the segment stealer. Yeah, but I don't think it's the match steal, obviously. But I think I think there's lots of layers there that kind of pan out. Who do you got? Let's go back jump into the 2 chamber matches. Or not, we'll end with those. Finn Balor, Damian Priest versus Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. I think we have a theory on who the tag match is at Mania. So, I mean, obviously, I think we both agree on the winners of this match.
It's gotta be Balor and Priest. Unless they plan on Priest using the briefcase.
See, I'm still going with my theory. I think R-Truth and The Miz wrestle Balor and Priest potentially night 1, and I think they lose to Truth and Miz, Awesome Truth or whatever the hell they're called now.
It'd be
there's
great.
A reason why. Because you got to get the tag belts off. You don't have to, but I think you got to get the tag belts off Priest in order for him to cash in. And I'm still standing by. I'm going to come back to this tease to what I think part 2 of that is.
Oh.
In the women's chamber match, you've got Liv, you've got Raquel, Naomi, Becky, Tiffany Stratton, and Bianca Belair. I think every woman in this match has all the potential in the world, but to kind of coincide with our pick, I think they want Becky versus Rhea at Mania.
Oh yeah.
Becky's your man. Yeah.
Becky's had so much TV time lately. Yeah, they're going to have to do it with her. I mean, they wouldn't be featuring her on TV as much as they have lately unless they wanted her to be ready to go to Mania.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. The men's a lot harder.
I don't think so at all.
Okay, well.
Here's the thing. By the way, it's all obvious. Because here's the thing. Logan Paul isn't. Now, you could. I could make a case for 2 people. So it's Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Randy Orton, and Bobby Lashley. I think Lashley's just been out of the picture so far that I don't think that would be jarring almost to bring him back into the title picture that quick. Randy, you could make a case for. I think he'll find something else for Randy, by the way. LA Knight, you could argue, I still don't think it's his time yet, which I'm an idiot for thinking that. I think they've put so much stock into Drew McIntyre that it's Drew McIntyre who gets the opportunity at Mania versus Seth. Kevin Owens, look, he's Old Faithful. He's spectacular. I love everything about him. Just don't think he's the guy right now. Logan Paul's actually the other guy that you could make a case for to me. Two things. In years past, they've struggled to get all the titles defended, haven't they? On even with 2 nights of WrestleMania, they've struggled. Blink.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think there's going to be something in the chamber that sets up Logan Paul versus somebody for Mania, and that's probably going to be Kevin Owens. I think the person that comes
here's the thing,
out,
though. Hold on. The reason I'm asking you this, they faced each other at Rumble. Are you going to have them turn around and rematch them? I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying is that.
Well, there'll be something that sets him up with somebody, Knight, something like that. I think the best choice coming out of Chamber would be somebody besides Logan Paul, since he already has the U.S. title.
Right. I agree, but
he'll have a match at Mania, but I don't think he'll have the Seth match. I don't think Drew will have the Seth match because Drew's just not entertaining.
All right,
Nick,
hold on.
I'm sorry.
This is where part 2 comes into hand. I referenced this last week. Drew McIntyre had that history with Judgment Day just a few weeks back. There was a little run there where he was tangled up with them. Drew versus Seth. Drew's in a phase where he wants to hurt people too. He's wanting to like literally he's got punk shirts with like tombstones and stuff on it. He killed his WrestleMania thing. What if Seth wins, but he puts such a beating on him, and maybe even it's post-match. You got the tag titles off of Damian Priest, and then they're sets up in line because Seth's going to have to wrestle night 2 because we keep hearing rumors that night 1 it's going to be Seth and Cody versus Roman Rock on night 1, and if that's the truth, that means he's got to defend he's going to have to wrestle twice the next night. Drew loses, but Damian Priest cashes in on night 2 and captures. So you do have your title. You have your big move with that title as well.
Man, I should have drawn this on a piece of paper, like a chart, not like little pictures of the guys in charts.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to come out. It's hard to put Randy Orton out of something.
Oh no, I agree.
It's hard to take. I don't think Lashley's the winner, but it's hard to take Randy Orton out of an equation like this. I'm going to have to wait and see on this one. Totally going to have to wait and see. I want to see R-Truth run in sometime though. I can't get enough of R-Truth right now, Nick. I can't. I need more R-Truth. I need as much R-Truth as possible.
Yep. So my picks are Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, Drew McIntyre, an attack by the Bloodline on the Grayson Waller effect, and Balor and Priest retain your championship. They'll probably, from looking at this, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think they add a match.
Yeah.
Not really sure where.
Unless they're planning on the chambers being really long.
Well, they're typically longer too, because remember they have the timed increments where people come out, so it's possible. But 5 matches, dude, they ain't long. But I ain't complaining. Yeah. Ain't complaining in the least. So
I don't need a 6-hour pay-per-view. You know,
I don't want nor need. That's the beauty part of it. Yeah. Neither one. So, I don't know, man. It's an early morning Saturday. Don't complain. Just watch it when you want to watch it, man. Yeah. Just get up and watch it whenever.
It's not, dude, we don't have to worry about the next showing. We're not going to make it to, I mean, it would probably be over by 9 o'clock at the latest.
Yeah, at the latest, it'd be 9.
And start your pay-per-view with your breakfast. After your breakfast, go to Waffle House, get you something nice. Come back, get you an All-Star. I like buying egg scrambled with cheese, hash browns smothered and covered, white toast, double order sausage, waffle crispy. Coffee.
Sounds about right.
Cream and Splenda in the water. Because you can always use the water to wash your hands with when you're done if you're sticky.
That means you got too much syrup on there, but
You never can have too much syrup.
Oh, yes, you can. That's what the diabetes is.
That's why I have diabetes. Type 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's a little scary to think about. But, man, speaking of else, you know what else is scary, Myron?
What's that? Oh,
look, we got our new sponsor.
like
we discussed
Scary.
him last week. You got to watch Scary, though. It's good.
I'm scared.
Check out. Look, you can check out our friends William Scary Things over on YouTube, man. And look, yours truly was on that episode. It's got it's in his little vault there on YouTube. Check it out for sure. William Scary Things on YouTube. Are you a fan of the strange, mysterious, and unusual? Do you enjoy stories told firsthand about creepy experiences? UFO encounters, ghostly apparitions, near-death and afterlife experiences, even parallel universes? Well, if so, you need to check out the YouTube channel William Scary Things. It is a new, albeit determined channel. William was influenced as a kid by books, movies, stories, all that were passed down by his friends and family, and they all had a creepy theme. What started out as a scary story narration is now a long-form interview process with people who have experienced weird and unusual things firsthand. Do you want to hear about a house with the former owners that were laid to rest right in the front yard? Yeah, told by yours truly. Well, if so, William Scary Things has you covered. How about a witness to the Phoenix Lights, probably the most renowned UFO sighting in modern history? Maybe you want to hear about a first-hand encounter with a ghostly apparition late one night with a photo to boot. No problem. William's got you covered there too. Were you a fan of the Scary Stories to Tell and Dark Book series as a kid? Want to learn more about the Solway Firth spaceman? Well, if so, it's all right there. So head on over to William Scary Things and check out his latest episodes and give him a like, subscribe to the channel, heck, leave a comment. Trust me, there's nothing to be scared of. That's right, man. Check out old William right there over at William Scary Things on YouTube. Check him out, like it, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. If you like the whole paranormal, the horror, that kind of stuff, ghosts and all that kind of stuff, absolutely recommend William Scary
Very
Things.
fun podcast. Very fun podcast. I've enjoyed it so far.
Well, all right, man. Well, let's keep it rolling. Now we're getting into some really fun stuff. Your favorite show on television, All Elite Wrestling.
I'm getting better with it. As I get into this Sting angle a little bit better. I'm enjoying a little bit. It's still, though, it's an angle. I'm learning from Mr. Bischoff.
Yeah.
I don't worship him as much as you do, but I think he's right about this one day.
Oh, yeah. Look, another week of all. Look, I hate, with all of the wrestling, we kind of have this on a regular basis, this conversation. There's going to be some show we're behind on because we record on Wednesdays. Dynamite drops Wednesday night. But look, if we did it on Tuesday, it would be NXT. If we did it, on and on and on. And Thursday's just a good show, the day to drop it on. If we did it on Friday, we'd be a week behind on SmackDown. Blah, 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 blah. So we are discussing last week's Dynamite Collision and all that kind of stuff when we talk about Darby Allin comes out and cuts a promo. Let me back up. You got to go further than that. Let's start with what you said about Bischoff. Bischoff's saying it's an angle, it's not a story. Some people push back on that. And look, I would love to know from the listeners and the viewers, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, do you agree with Bischoff that the story itself has been relatively weak? It's an angle they shot just so they could justify the Bucks being in this match.
Well, you've got Sting is going to retire anyway.
Correct.
You knew that was going to happen. You've already sold out the venue based on the fact Sting was going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a vehicle that you've built around that? You knew the Bucks needed something to come back to. Do you want to build a reason to get the Bucks back in and give them a story to work with as cleaning up their company?
They let Sting pick his opponent. You knew it was going to be a tag match because, he's with Darby. He chose the Bucks. So Bischoff's pushback is simply, the angle's just an excuse to make the Bucks the heels because you got to have a heel team face him and Darby. It's one of the rare things that I do kind of agree with. I kind of oppose a little bit because if you've watched it now, look, some people would argue it both ways. You could, I guess. I'm struggling here because I can see both viewpoints on this one. If you believe it's a story, like, hey, they went through the trouble. They explain Nicholas and Matthew, have come back. They've got the suits on. They're embracing their EVPs because people talk about they have no power. They're just in name, blah, blah. Every negative thing people have said about them being EVPs, they're embracing.
So they're old Bucks now.
They should just be the Bucks. I do agree with that statement. They should just be the Bucks at this point, because the young Bucks sell merch and they're baby faces. By the way, they are baby faces. Their fan base will never turn on them, in my opinion. There is a base that was the CM Punk fan base that turned on them, but there's not. Their fan base isn't going to turn on them. The stance that they're trying to clean up their promotion because it's not the same company when it started because they're bringing all these old timers in. And they're going to start with Sting. It's been a longer story than Bischoff likes to give it credit for, but it still could be something they were like, hey, yeah, we're just throwing this because this will help us get to where we want to go. Darby comes out and cuts a promo last week and basically goes so inside baseball. It's literally dirt sheet internet wrestling community, just laced promo about there used to be a EVP here that had brains. He's not here anymore. Hashtag Cody. On and on. Basically everything that's, and what we discussed was like, you and I kind of had a back and forth about this. About my argument is they're super serving their audience. They're not growing, but hell, that doesn't seem like that's their plan anyway. So why not just make their base happy going so inside baseball?
It seems like what they're doing. I mean, we talk about it and they're successful. If this is their business model, they're successful at it. We talked and you get on to me about this. I try to judge them based on the WWE. I try to just judge them based on what I see as success. And the success is a WWE success model. It's the success that we see when the WWE has 12 or 13,000 for a Raw, and they have 4,000 at one of their Dynamite tapings. It's success when we see the ratings difference. But if their business model is, we just really want to make Tony happy and we want to make our fans happy and put on the best wrestling show we want to put on instead of catering to advertisers. If that's what they're shooting for, Nick, they're doing a really good job.
Well,
but this promo, as a traditional wrestling fan, this pisses me off. But I'm not the person this was aimed at.
Right. I think first of all, if I think their business model is whatever Tony Khan wants it to be. I think he wants it to be what he likes, which is is super serving that audience. And yes, by the way, I do agree that the thing we disagreed about off air was I finally said, stop comparing them to So, and this is AEW, WWE fans alike. I had to say, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. If they are competition with WWE and you think they are, then you have every right to compare them side by side in every measurable category about how they're getting absolutely crushed by WWE in every area right now. They are. And I like both promotions, by the way. And I say they are destroyed on a weekly basis. Merchandise, gate attendance, ratings, etc. But if you're also from the other side and you're like, they're not even competition, they're not real competition, okay, then you have to stop comparing them, because if they're not competition, if they're not competing with WWE, then you can't compete those numbers side by side. It's pick whichever one you want and stay on that side of the fence, and we're good. That's kind of where I'm at.
I honestly sometimes get lost in the fact that this is a child's project. And I had a conversation with someone whose opinion on the business I really respect the other day, and he said that this is Tony Khan's action figure collection. He collects talent like Mercedes Monet and Okada, and he's happy to get them. And if he gets somebody new, a newer shiny one, he moves them to the back of the shelf and then plays with the new shiny toys. And that's why we see people disappearing back on the roster. And he brings in new talent. And this is not something he's doing for ratings. This promotion looks to be something he's doing to amuse himself. So if it's making him happy, it's successful. If this what he's, I mean, it's not like the football team. It's not like the Jaguars. Are the Jaguars succeeding? You can tell that, right?
Yeah, they have wins and losses, but I always push back on that one and say that's more dads, and there are other people that are running that. He has a role on that, but it's not his team.
Well, until he runs out of money, what's the harm? Our friends, we've had friends that made money off this guy. I'm trying, Nick. I'm really trying. Well, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's lots of good that's coming out of it. Look, storytelling's not the thing, but the concern on the other side is the bad that could come out of it. And I think that's part, there are people out there that say, look, AEW is good for wrestling. Look, it is. What is it good? What's good about it? It gives a lot of people jobs and opportunities to develop and, work and grow. Okay, there's a lot of pros. The bad, however, falls on a multitude of tiers, and I'm going to really throw you off because I'm probably going to flip these around in the show note order. Because the first one I want to talk about is like the style of wrestling, the blood, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a bad look, people don't like that necessarily. Fan bases don't like that. It's hard to grow. That's what it's bad about it. It's hard to grow, and it gives wrestling as a whole a bad look as lots of blood and lots of violence. Okay, that part I don't disagree with. That's a very, very minute point when what we're talking about how AEW is bad.
We're not talking about attracting a deathmatch crowd because that's a very small audience. We're talking about mom and dad tune in to watch wrestling with their kid and building a wrestling fan, and that the minute they see blood, they turn the TV off, and that kid never gets exposed to wrestling again, and a wrestling fan is stifled at birth, basically. Or
correct.
somebody gets disgusted and turns it off and never gets to expose to more product.
Or even a kid that's been watching it for months, and mom finally just happens to like, what are you watching? And then she's like, oh, I'm watching it. And she's like, oh, and then she sees something, and she's like, oh, yeah, you can't watch that anymore.
Yeah.
So same thing. But then here's the problem. If she doesn't follow wrestling in that world, she thinks all wrestling's that way now.
Well, it's like when mom caught me and my brother beating the hell out of each other one time. And it's like, y'all are watching too much wrestling, and then forbid us from watching wrestling because we were trying wrestling moves on each other. There was some logic to that.
Yeah, but then you just had more time to beat the shit out of each other.
Well, yeah. That's where this logic was faulty. But I see where these people are coming from. It was too late because the wrestling seeds were already in my little fertile brain.
Yeah.
But it does isolate an audience. And when you isolate an audience like that, there's less people watching. And with less people watching, is it harder to sell advertising?
Well, that falls into, it's also the content in general can also make it harder to sell advertising. If you see a bunch of blood, advertisers pull back, they're less likely to advertise. So between that, it's also, by the way, it's not just the demo, like the ratings and stuff that cause that rate to go down. But if people aren't buying it because of the content, then your rates you're charging for advertising goes down, gets harder to sell. Then you're not filling all your slots. Then you're like, oh, we got open slots, blah, blah, blah. It all kind of steamrolls into one big thing. And, Eric brings up, like, hey, I've been watching television for a long time. And when I see the type of advertising they're doing, it looks like a lot of make goods. And Myron, when I said make goods, you said,
what's make goods?
make goods or commercials essentially that are run. They promise somebody buys an advertiser buys so much television eyeballs, and what that means is it works a couple ways. You made a promise that you were going to put somebody's commercial in front of so many eyeballs, and then you don't meet that promise, so you got to give them basically free commercials to make up those eyeballs. There's what I like to call it, and this is not a term used in the industry, but I call it buckshot advertising. There's certain advertisers who don't give a shit about demos. They don't give a shit. We just want a bunch of eyeballs on our product.
Yes.
Okay, I know that I can give you 800,000 on Dynamite. Does that make sense? If you don't care about demos or whatever, if I've got empty slots, I'll throw you on a Dynamite. So you might have. We joked about. There's a Summer's Eve commercial that runs during Dynamite.
Yes.
And you're like, why is that on here? Because they promised they would get him in front of 800,000 eyes, and they did that. So you're just praying that his wife is watching Dynamite with him, and she is not.
You're praying he has a wife or a girlfriend.
So the problem, how that hurts the wrestling business as a whole, is advertisers. They look at wrestling as a whole when they're selling the commercials, the ad rates, etc. So here's where the steam. Look, I think it does hurt WWE to a degree, but I think WWE has kind of separated itself a little bit from wrestling. It's a known quantity. They know what they get out of it, so it's not as damaged. But you know who it does hurt tremendously? TNA, NWA. Even WOW, some of these other smaller promotions that are trying to make their way through the television landscape, because guess what? It makes it hard to do. To them, wrestling's wrestling. Those are all the same. There's WWE and then there's wrestling. Mm-hmm. That's where I think the struggle happens. And look, and it's not just about ad rate. We talked about TV deals. If AEW gets let's say they're not renewed, I still at this point think they are. Yes, I cross my fingers. I hope they are. But if they're not, it's like, where do they go? I mean, the problem with these large companies owning all of these channels, if you lose one, it's like, where do we end up? If they get let's say they're not renewed and they get a bad TV deal, like a new, the next person looking, like if TNA, look, I know their deal. They're on TV on their network. There was jokes about, hey, what if they sold and they were looking for a TV deal? Who would want them? I promise you, if there's a network out there that looks and says, if Tony Khan and all his money and all his connections and all the things he's supposed to know, if he can't make this work, why would we give TNA a shot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And there's a precedence for stuff like this. WWE at one time lost Smackdown to the Sci-Fi Network. There's a time where they've reshuffled programming to lesser networks.
Yeah.
Remember when did one of the programs go to the Nashville Network for a while?
Well, okay, that's a little skewed. ECW was there. They guinea pigged them, and they actually paid for it. So it actually wasn't a bad deal. By the way, that is now Spike, which became, you know what I mean? So it's like it was an incarnation of, different things. So
anyway. I mean, it's something that could happen, and AEW needs to focus on making content that is good for the business and good for themselves and sellable.
Listen, I don't give a
content.
Here's the thing. Bad good content be damned. Don't hurt the business.
Yes.
Get better for the sake of you're helping the business as a whole, because it always boils down to money across the board.
Yeah.
And look, speaking of money across the board, Myron,
where's a good place to put some money?
Football's over, I understand. So a lot of people are pushing, hey, what do we do? What do we do? Hey, it's basketball season, baby. All-Star break's coming to an end. Basketball starting back up. So that means over at Prize Picks, you can get a multitude of games every single night and win big.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words. Prize Picks. It's so easy.
Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the numbers. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
That's right, man. Check them out. Prize Picks. I prefer the app, but you can do it on the website as well. If you're more of a computer guy, I totally understand. But look, somebody was betting. He was willing to bet on himself, Myron, and I wanted to bring this up.
I saw that.
It's not a long conversation, but I wanted to ask. And Josh Alexander, TNA has picked up. They had an option.
Yes.
That they picked up.
We have very different opinions on this, apparently.
I
think it's terrific. I think it's you get your guy who is one of your most decorated champions of all time. You get a guy who's held belts longer, that has records for holding your belts. You get a guy that's a shining example. You bring him in, you make sure you tag him down and hold him, and hope the rest of the guys will follow suit. So what do you think?
So I think it's good for the company, but I didn't think it necessarily was good for him. I think he completely implied he wanted to test the free agent market. He wanted to see what was out there for himself. And I think they took it away from him.
Okay.
Now, from the business side, I completely understand and respect what they did. They had the option in his contract. It was the right decision for them to keep him. But the reason why I said, or was it, you knew he wanted to go. You knew he wanted to be a free agent. My point being, less people are going to make that mistake in a contract going forward.
Oh,
as far as giving
definitely.
them the option. He's a professional. He will do what he's asked. He will fulfill everything. He will be a consummate professional for the next year. You kept him from testing the free agent market for a year. Next year, if he's got any inkling that he could be signed for the same money or more somewhere else, you see what I'm saying? And look, you're in such a volatile situation right now with all the change going on. I don't know that you want to have any ill will in the locker room towards you. That's what I was getting.
So
at.
what you're okay. So let me see if I can understand this. So what you're telling me is, if they've pissed off this guy, and he's in the locker room saying, "Oh, I'm pissed off that I can't go get the contract, and I'm not happy here," it's going to be worse for the locker room than him being, even if he's not talking shit. Even if he's not talking shit, people are going to know he's not happy.
I don't think here's the thing. I think Josh Alexander's enough of a professional. I don't think that he's going to be unhappy, be like anything but a professional. But like you said, people know he wanted to test the free agent market. He just wanted to see. How about, again, from the company's perspective, it's a win. They didn't do anything wrong. They did the right thing. They had an option. Yeah. They think he's worth that value. They signed him. Great job. The other side would be put some feelers out there, see what you're worth. If the other company was like, "Hey, we think you're worth $400,000 a year," I'm making numbers up, by the way, and they're like, "Dude, we think he's worth $125,000. Are we doing the right thing by this guy by keeping him here for $125,000, and he could be making $300,000 or $400,000 somewhere else?" Probably not. If you let him go, it's a terrible hit for your company. I get it. But the other people are probably like, kudos to them for the company for making that decision. It's a struggle for me because from a business perspective, I can't even argue that. And listen, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Totally would love to know what people think.
I've had this conversation with people several times. Me and you tend to look at things as retail managers because that's what we've always been. And we look at things from the standpoint that we are on a profit and loss scale. And wrestling doesn't work that way. Wrestling sometimes it's not even human resources. Wrestling is humans.
Right.
Wrestling is feelings. And people don't operate like that. So I don't even know what to tell you about this. Is he worth as much as you think he is? he'd probably be signed by AEW in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
NXT, I think
the
he can work in
pushback is
NXT.
nobody knows what he's worth because he's not going to find out.
But in the future, will people? I wouldn't sign this deal with Impact or TNA ever again.
TNA, yeah, when they
I
do those
wouldn't
future
sign one of these
contracts
deals ever again.
Yeah. And look, we know some talents were let go. I'm not going to get into that on the show.
Yeah.
But there were some people that did not get their contracts renewed, and they didn't re-sign or etc. So I don't know. I just was tappedoutpod@gmail.com.
Well,
We'd love to know your thoughts. I mean, what you think.
Let's at least switch over to a more positive conversation about wrestling.
I'm going to hold that till the end.
Okay.
I do want to go there. But before we do get there, I do want to remind everybody, make sure you're on the YouTube channel, youtube.com @tappedOutPod is the handle. Look, like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on. Anytime and every time you'll get the show, all that good. You guys know how it works at this point. But look, our loyal listeners, by the way, thank you. Last week was one of our biggest audio ones in a while on the podcast platform. Whether it was Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, we appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribing when you're listening. We love you guys for still doing the audio, but we want to remind you the Patreon channel, the YouTube channel, they have everything, and not everything does go to the audio podcast feeds as well.
I love y'all guys. Y'all make an old man feel very special down deep inside, especially when I brag to my daughter's little boyfriend about what a powerhouse content creator I am. It's great.
But look, speaking of old man, let's get into what you were wanting to talk about, man.
Man, what a special experience we had this weekend, folks.
Yeah.
I normally anytime Southern Fried's running, I go to Southern Fried. But I had to go see, and me and Nick had to go see the man, the myth, the legend on his great first wrestling show in his hometown of Buford, Georgia, Terry the Rocker Lawler. And it was not a disappointment. It was a phenomenal showing of loyal fans, family, everyone came out to support Terry. I could not have been more touched when he ran up through the crowd and patted me on the belly and then wrestled through our table. Nick, it was so much. What? Just tell me your feelings.
Look, dude, I won't even lie to you. His music hit. I was choked up, dude. I mean, I'm a sentimental old dude, and everybody knows that at this point. But yeah, dude, I was choked up. I really was specific when I said, look, I played a very minuscule part, and bringing that all together, and it meant the world to all parties involved. For that to happen, for him to get his moment to be, look, he's wrestled for 34 years, and for finally, for somebody to give him. So I take me out of the equation, but for the people at Disruptor to help make that happen, there was no better opponent than Chip Day, in my opinion, for that match.
What a match!
Yeah, completely delivered. And look, we'll dive into a lot of the Disruptor show, the things that happened, and all of that stuff on the Tapped In Georgia Indie Wrestling Show. We just want to get here and talk about it's how we felt about this was about Terry. Like, for us, that show was built, around that moment, and it was super awesome to see.
Tell us. Let's go back from the origin of this. Where did you first meet Terry the Rocker Lawler, Nick?
Look, I met Terry in high school. I was a freshman in high school. He was a senior. And that's, I said, so for knowing him this long, he was one of the, I used to go see him in these shows way before. I mean, my kids were little, before we were doing this, and he helped us out tremendously in the beginning. So look, it's a lot there there's a history.
Always been a huge advocate for us. Terry introduced us to so many people. Terry's always been a good word for us. My first wife was a 10th grader when Nick was a freshman at that school. My current wife was in the same class as Nick. Terry Lawler is one person no one can say anything bad about. Terry Lawler invited us to my first indie show. Terry Lawler has treated me like his friend since the moment I met him in the parking lot outside that Southern Fried Show in Covington at that little tiny fundraiser, and has always treated me great every single moment. Uh, I don't think we would have ever been able to launch this show with the amount of success we've had if it wouldn't have been for Terry Lawler.
Yeah.
That man, and if for anything else, if we stop today, I have a friend in Terry Lawler.
Yeah. And I will have that match. There is one version that he's already put out, but I'm waiting. I wanted to see the one, like there was a camera on our table at the show that I wanted to see that one as well. I just want to see which one's the better of the two and put that version out on our YouTube channel, so it'll be out there for for hopefully thousands of people to see. To look, because we said this, and look, I'm way over, and I was clocking you down a little bit a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, but because I tend to rant and rave,
but here I am about to do the same. Like we talk about, and I posted something about this, about like wrestling, is about history, like the history of wrestling. There's a lot to that. It's yes, you got to evolve and you got to move forward, but there's also the acknowledgement of of history and the past and things like that. And I felt like that's what this was like for Terry, like this, so to see the history, and it's, I couldn't even, like, maybe there's probably going to be a special at some point. Chip, Terry, like, it wouldn't be the first one we've done, by the way.
Yeah, you did a really good special with Chip
years ago. But look, something down the road to tell the story, because like when I put that picture up of us three on, and it was like, look, there's so much history there going back to high school. Between those two, how that match came to be, like all these little pieces
I absolutely love Chip too.
So, absolutely, we just wanted to say, it was an honor to be there at the show, to be, like I said, involved at all in the whole thing. It was awesome. Go check out Terry Lawler, by the way. He's got some homecoming videos up, but the before and the after, they're really good. Again, and I was, it's about what wrestling is, in my take, but that's I'm just a fan.
Wrestling should make you cry occasionally.
It should.
It should have feelings. Now, men are allowed to cry. Wrestling is one of those few times in my book.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that we could end the show any better than that on a topic like that. So I think we stop there, and we kind of wrap it up. And anything else on that before we get out of here, Myron?
I love you, Terry.
100%. He knows. Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.